Just in time for the holidays, Blade and Sorcery is dropping the Crystal Hunt skills preview. So without further ado, let's dive right in and break it down. Baron opens up and says, as mentioned in other news, Crystal Hunt is going to be the long-awaited progression mode for Blade and Sorcery. A big component of that progression mode is the development of the player character via their skills. So when they say skills, they mean legit unlocking some new features. They were dead set from the very beginning from following the common game design cliche of a skill tree where you unlock new skills and get +5 damage or anything boring like that. So in their skill tree, each unlock is something new to mix up how you are playing the game, whether it be a new spell or an augmentation to a spell to change how it works, or even something that pertains to sword fighting or archery. And by taking a look at this GIF right here that includes Unarmed 2, this man is doing a medieval falcon punch, and I think that is awesome. They said that they were really adamant that they didn't want their game to feel, well, to be like a gamey skill tree and had nothing but boring number crunch, and that was a non-negotiable from them at Warpfrog. So right now they're currently sitting at 78 skills, and knowing them, I'm sure that number will increase. So Baron says, yes, this is indeed madness, and it keeps me awake at night. So when Lineker told me that they were cramming this much new content into the skill tree, I gripped with terror, because I'm calling it now that our QA team has no time for this many skills. It's surely going to be hell, but at least since the 1.0 and the big one will be cool to go out with a bang. So they mean since the game is coming out in its 1.0 form, they hope to have like all this content in there. And some of these skills are stuff you already know, but broken off into their own unlockables. For example, regular fireball or regular lightning, etc., and major stuff like that. And just look at the way the lightning is arcing between these two daggers held in the player's hand. That's awesome. In the beginning of the game, the player is completely skillless. That means all the spells and OP stuff that you know from the early access sandbox game is stripped away from the player, and the player is literally just a sword or archery warrior. And as the player completes dungeon runs in Crystal Hunt, you'll be able to unlock things on this skill tree and develop your character in any of the 5 skilled paths: fire, lightning, gravity, body, and mind. So while fire, lightning, and gravity are obvious enough, the body pertains to physical prowess and sword fighting skills, while mind refers to things like focus, so slow time, base telekinesis upgrades, and stuff like that. Each path has 3 tiers, and generally speaking of T1 unlocks that tend to be the skills that you will be the most familiar with from early access, while T2 skills tend to be something new, and T3 tends to be the big merge skills. And right here we see the player merge 2 fireballs and shoot it, and there's some augmentation when it hits the ground or something, it does little mini fireballs. There are also a few multi-path skills, such as having a certain tier of fire and a certain tier of gravity will unlock something new special for combine skills. There are also a few multiple skill paths, such as having a certain tier of fire and a certain tier of gravity will unlock something new, so new spell combinations. Particularly with these cross-elemental skills, there can be something that's so devastating for late game spells, and although they are comprised of familiar elements, generally they are something completely new altogether. Just look at this gravity merge where you're throwing it and it's like a black hole sucking everything in. I need that now. Give me that. I'll be nice with it. Some of the skills will be augmentations for other skills you have already unlocked. And this is where it can get really wacky. A big component of the skill tree is about synergy, which is to say how different skills play off each other. You will find that the skill effects will compound and stack, and because of the physics simulation factor, you may find that they stack and can be utilized in cool or new ways if you are creative. But look at this like gravity bounce spell whip execution. That's awesome. With so many new skills and effects in the game, if you were to unlock them all at the same time, you might hardly recognize the early access game because there is so much going on. But for this reason, they tried their absolute best to make it so no new skills change how the game plays on a fundamental level. So they tried their best on the control side to keep everything naturally intuitive or familiar to how the early game base operation was, playing, like how you're casting magic and whatnot. So for example, we all know the regular fireball, but if one was to use the new skill remote detonation, the player is able to explode the fireball in midair. So the controls are simply casting the fireball as usual and then using the new part to pull the trigger to make it explode, which I am so happy for. It adds a layer on top of the familiar controls without doing anything too radical or unfamiliar, like suddenly needing a gesture or a new button of combos to operate. But nonetheless, if you were to have every single skill unlocked at all times, it could be quite overwhelming once things start stacking. Like the way this person is using lightning and gravity together is insane. However, it is unlikely to be the case that the player would have everything unlocked at the same time. And right now it's not fully balanced, but the idea is that by the time the average player gets to the end of Crystal Hunt, they will more than likely have unlocked something like 2 full skill paths, plus maybe some changes. This idea encourages the player to go down a particular path and specialize, so by the end of Crystal Hunt, the player should have some type of character rather than one that's completely well-rounded. So you're like a gravity mage or a super amazing archer, but not a jack of all trades. So this will hopefully encourage the player to replay the game again later and try a new type of character playthrough. But of course, if you kept doing dungeon runs in Crystal Hunt on the same playthrough, you could theoretically max out every skill path and become a master of everything. And I'm sure most of us will probably end up doing that. But when it comes to the sandbox mode, in the dev menu, they will make sure to have a little individual toggle to unlock everything from the start. So if you're someone that just wants all the new stuff but doesn't particularly want to play the Crystal Hunt mode because you're a lunatic, well, you can have everything still unlocked with all the augmentations. They want to make sure that they are adding an unrestricted approach to sandbox, because if someone wants to jump in and have everything from the start and mess around, that's their business, which is awesome. Although I would love to play the Crystal Hunt mode, I also just want all of these skills and mess around in sandbox and doing live streams and whatnot. And just looking at this like black hole merge of doom is something I need in my life. Now let's go a layer deeper. Another mechanic that has been added to the game is the inclusion of status effects. If you recall the old lightning, when you zapped an enemy with lightning, they were stunned for a moment. This is essentially an expansion of that. Enemies can now suffer status effects for all elements, such as being set on fire or made to feel weightless. And in this one, we see like a wizard essentially burning someone, so that's cool. There are also some status effects for the body path skills, but we will leave that door for you to discover later. Oh, thanks guys, I can't wait to just punch someone in the side of the head and see if they stand up. Is that a status effect? Now they say if the above flamethrower GIF was making you wonder how staffs are going to work in conjunction with the new skill tree, the staffs will still get their usual imbue slam abilities for free, that's cool, but you'll be able to unlock powerful new skills for the staff as well. So get ready to play as Saruman! And now they're talking a little bit about the skill trees and it being modder friendly. So they design it in such a way that modders should be able to add their own entirely new skill trees to Crystal Hunt. Not just a new skill. Like if you want to say, hey, I want to make a mod pack that's added to Crystal Hunt that enables the player to unlock my own skill tree, that's what you can do. Now, in closing, this is their statement. They're saying that there's still so much to discover and more detail to go into, but they don't want to spoil too much about skills. And as we all know, this content will be in the 1.0 release, and for those wondering about when the 1.0 release is, the answer is, well, not sure. They are still praying for a Q1 2024 release, but there is a massive chance that there will not be the reality. Their goal was to be feature complete by December and then use Q1 to polish the bug fixing and do a lengthy QA period. But now it's the end of December and, well, I guess it's not feature complete, so they're not even into the bug fixing stage yet, which is interesting. So this means that the extra dev time required to finish features is going to ripple into the bug fixing time, and that means everything is going to get pushed back as a result. And when you combine that with all the new content, they're going to need a robust QA testing to see, well, basically what breaks. And basically, in summation, they're saying it's probably pushing that to around Q2. So I'm sure we can expect that, especially for the QA time, because let me just say this, Blade and Sorcery has been in early access for a decent amount of time, over 5 years at this point. And when a game comes to release and it doesn't have the early access tag per se, releasing it with bugs opens you up to criticism, whether, if it's warranted or not, but they want to make sure there's as least amount of bugs as possible, which I appreciate. And here is their final statement. I'll read it as such. That is the end of the year news from everyone at Warp Frog. Thank you for your continued support, and we hope you guys and gals and other kin all have a wonderful holiday and New Year's cheers. And they go out with a final bang of a lightning tornado, which, that's crazy. And that is the end of a news content update about the skills preview coming to 1.0, which is awesome to have a little peek at what they are working on. Now I want to give you a little bit of my opinion on the situation. Just like you, I am completely excited about the release of 1.0. It couldn't come soon enough, but I am still happy to wait as they get this really nailed and hammered down. I'm loving all the new skills, especially for unarmed and magic and archery. That is going to be so cool. The only thing that worries me is that the player is just getting infinitely stronger to a game where the player was, well, infinitely overpowered. And looking at all these skills, well, the enemies stand further from a chance than, well, anything that has come before it. And by the looks and sound of things, it doesn't feel like the AI is getting so much improvement. In fact, I haven't heard them really talk about AI in quite a while. So what I'm concerned about is that the AI is going to be as it is currently, and we are just going to continue to obliterate them, which is unfortunate. I was hoping that the enemies were going to get better brains, more animations, just something. Maybe they can use two-handed weapons like a spear, a longsword, or an axe. That would be pretty cool, or just to see even more stuff that they can do. But that's my opinion. I know a lot of people were also hoping for like an AI overhaul. It just doesn't seem like we're going to get that, which is a little bit disappointing. But I don't want to end on a bad note. I just hope that that is something Blade and Sorcery and the Warp Frog team are considering and working on secretly as the surprise. But who knows? But other than that, I just want to say thank you to everyone for stopping by and watching me and listening to me break down this video. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. We do fun things on this channel all the time. But other than that, I'm Drifter from Downloadable Content, and I will see you next time.